Capital appreciation in property. So you've probably heard this lots: capital growth, capital appreciation, prices going up, a simple way of putting it. We're going to talk about the beauty of capital appreciation from a leverage standpoint as well then. Again, we'll simplify the version of what we're going to try and teach today, but you could, over time, keep refinancing so you could have more debt to it. But what we're going to do, for the sake of this, is say that we keep the debt at the same each time. So we have bought a £100,000 property. Our bread and butter is a 3-bed somewhere in Yorkshire, and we've got a £75,000 mortgage on it. So 75% loan to value. We'll stick to that, £25,000 of our own money, but £75,000 of lending from Mr. Bank Manager there. So that debt, because it's interest only, and we'll do a different video about interest only and repayments, but when we are buying buy-to-let properties, investment properties, 8 times out of 10, we'll be looking at doing interest only. And I'll show you why. For residential mortgages, really regularly, that's really common. People like to pay down their mortgages, that's quite common. We're going to keep the debt the same. So we'll never pay this down, we're just paying off the interest. So the debt will never go up or down in that case. But what we're going to look is the property price will always go up. So history's shown that it's gone up about 8% over the last 80 years on average each year. At the moment, it's probably not going up quite as much. We're probably looking at about 5% average per annum, 5% per annum on average. So in this example here, we're going to look at our house prices are going to double every 12 to 15 years. So here, after 15 years, the property is going to be worth 150k. So what you've got there is, by doing nothing and just holding the asset, so this doesn't include your rental money, which will be a nice little sort of bit of cash flow, is there you've created £75,000 of equity from doing absolutely nothing. The debt, is the same. You've still got your property price has gone up, so you've got your difference there. Now, if you wanted to do this in 15 years' time, you could effectively release that equity and pay down your debt, so your mortgage, your property was unencumbered. You could pull that capital out and reinvest it somewhere else, which is probably what we'd suggest to do, and we'll do that in a slightly different video. Or you could, release that, sell it, get that £75,000 out and sail off to the sunset and have a year around the world, whatever that might be. Then we're going to look at over 30 years. Now, 30 years sounds like an incredibly long time, but we are living longer. And if you can get started in property investing sooner, this won't be that longer time. We seem to talk about 30 years as a long time, but then we save really hard for our pensions, which we can't touch till we're 65, 66, and that will keep going up. So, but if you look on a longer sort of term horizon, and this really crude figures, it may go up more, might go down less, up less, but say we're looking at that, what we've got between here is £225,000. By doing nothing and just holding that asset for 30 years, you've got £225,000 worth of equity. We're going to adjust for inflation because obviously a tin of baked beans will cost a little bit more in 30 years' time than it does today, so that won't be quite worth the 225 grand that we see it as today. But nonetheless, that'll be a huge chunk of change to have, whether you sell the property, whether you remortgage the property, however you look to do it. I've always used the example that if you could really simply put, if you could buy 4 properties now or as quickly as you can, which wouldn't take loads of work, you've probably got the equity and the cash and the money sitting around somewhere, be that in your home, savings, borrowing from parents. You bought 4 of those, you'd be pretty much a millionaire in 30 years' time by doing not a lot. Like, it's a really crude example and a really sort of like oversimplified version, but hopefully you can see here, by the debt not moving, by paying the interest off only, just waiting to have capital growth, there is huge money to be made in property. And we talk about capital growth all the time. Like, when I'm talking to clients at the moment, it is my main selling point. Like, the £300 a month cash flow that you might get from the rental income is great, and it'll help if you have 10 of them, for example, but that's where you're going to make your real money. 70% of your money is going to be made from the capital growth, simplified in the most simple form, and that is why you should be buying property. Your main reason for buying property should be capital appreciation. If you've enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. Also, I have a property academy to teach you how to do this stuff, or if you just want to invest hands-free, there's also a link below to book a call with me.